Hello, this is Angie Yingst, and you're listening to Centered, grounded conversations about the metaphysical. Blessed September, friends. It's Angie Yingst, and I am here with your September Earth Medicine and Tarot reading. So we're kicking off this month in the mutable Earth sign of Virgo. Virgo organizes and reorients themselves to routine. So back to school for everyone. And I love that this is Virgo season. I don't think there's a mistake about that. If you're not in school or you don't have children in school, you might find that you feel a little schooly and that all the things are happening right now and that you really want to go out and buy color-coded page flags so that you know where you are in your notebook, like I just bought. Virgo really teaches us how to focus, and Virgo is the one and only Mercury-ruled Earth sign. So thanks to that planet and the planet communication and travel and language, Virgo is really able to zero in on those details. And they're stereotyped as ultra obsessive organizers. And the truth is, Virgo energy sorts through time and space. And so they're very conscious about what they do and what they put in the world. And they can, kind of make sense out of that mutability that's part of their inherent nature as Virgos. So when we think about the, cardinal, the cardinal, the mutable, and the fixed signs, we kind of think about that energy, like what makes a Capricorn different from a Taurus, different from a Virgo. Well, the Capricorn is the cardinal sign, so it's the leader. It starts things. It gets things, off. It kind of is bossy. And, well, if you know a Capricorn, and me as a Capricorn, can tell you, I can't help but step in as a leader. The Taurus also likes to be a leader, but they're in that fixed sign. So they're stubborn. They're not great at, they're kind of not, I shouldn't say stubborn. They are grounded. They keep that center part of the season, right? So they kind of have that groundedness, but that's that stuckness, they don't flow so easily. They don't play as well with others in the sandbox. Whereas Virgo, they're kind of bringing up the end. So they're the ones that have that anxiety of transition. Are we done? Is everything in order? Can we get this done? And I always, all my Virgo friends have a little bit of anxiety, right? They're always kind of a little worried, you shouldn't be doing that. You're probably going to fall. They can kind of see all the possibilities. And that's that changeableness, Geminis have that reputation of being, two-faced, right? It's not being two-faced. It's that they can see all the possibilities, and they're comfortable with changing their perspective on things. Do you know what I mean? So that's what that mutability can be, that we change. So some background on being in the Virgo time of the year. We are just knowing that we're kind of doing that organization, fall cleaning. I know we all hear about spring cleaning, but how many of you do fall organizing and spring organizing? It's those 2 times a year that I really pull everything out of the pantry and just chuck everything that's out of date and, try to organize all my books and my stuff and, try to get everything ready for what is undoubtedly going to be a busy season. So we start off with some simple astrology. In September, we are in some retrograde shadows, meaning it's not quite their retrograde time, but we're still feeling that energy. And Mercury is in its shadow retrograde time, and Mars is in Gemini for the next 7 months, and then it goes retrograde October 30th to January 12th. So Mars is in that pre-retrograde shadow because it has a longer shadow period. It has a longer pre-retrograde shadow. Longer retrograde period. It has a longer retrograde shadow period. And that really starts September 3rd. And again, that'll be in Gemini. So Mercury, the planet of communication, is going to form an opposition with Jupiter on September 2nd. So this could lead to some wonderful creative ideas. We love that. Brilliant ideas, maybe wonderful brainstorming stuff. So I know I just had a brainstorming session with a friend, and that was so cool and so much fun. So however it shows up for you, it could inspire you to kind of have big plans. So just try to stay realistic, because it's really easy to like overpromise and underdeliver when we're in that really creative brainstorming place. So do that brainstorming and then take a moment before promising anything or deciding. So Venus, the planet of love and friendship, enters Virgo on September 5th, which isn't exactly the most lusty sign to move into, but it will be that wonderful Virgo energy, which is super loyal, very trustworthy, and very reliable. So it's a really good time to build that intimacy and do acts of service for our partners. And then on September 16th, Venus squares with Mars. So that's the time for that lusty energy. And then by the end of the month, it's in Libra, which, Venus rules Libra. So it's a wonderful place for it to be in. And I think it can really be a great place for your relationships. And it can kind of encourage you to fall in love a little more deeply with everyone. Just have that dreamy, heart-eyed emoji look. All right, so let's talk about Mercury stationing retrograde on September 9th. And it's going to be in Libra. Is that right? So, the thing about Libra is that it's conflict avoidant. It likes to balance things and have harmony. And it is a sign that has a reputation for saying one thing and then just doing whatever it wants on the other side, or smiling to your face and complaining behind your back, which definitely leads to more misunderstandings. And all my Libra friends, I love you very much, but this is part of being conflict avoidant. When we do our work, we don't do that as much. And so when we are in Mercury in Libra, it can really be that time where we're like, I just don't want this person not to like me, and I'm going to say yes to things I really can't do. So don't say yes when you mean no. Don't agree to things that you don't want to do. Be impeccable with your word. Don't just smile and say everything's fine, then unfriend, block, and ignore the second someone leaves your house, which I know someone who did that. There's a Libra. So that's the thing. We just don't want to do those kind of things. We want to tell people how much we love them, and we want to tell them what we need, and we want to ask for what we want, as my mentor Pixie Lighthorse always says. So that's happening. Mercury retrograde. Woo-hoo. Don't remember, you have a lot of tools for Mercury retrograde, which is the pause. The pause is your best tool for Mercury retrograde, because our filter's just low. And when we start talking, we start getting ourselves into holes. So pause, and it's okay to hold some really good boundaries around this by saying, like, I'm not sure I can respond to you right now. Like, I feel a little triggered. So let's talk about this in a day or two when I can really sort through my feelings about it. So you don't have to respond immediately to everything, even though, our ego is just like, send that text, send the text, send the text, send the text. I always say, like, spirit is just soft and gentle nudging, and ego is like demanding and impulsive and impetuous, So it's just like, do it right now. And so whenever you have that feeling like, I have to send this email, like, drop everything and go to the, and start writing out everything you want to do, want to say, I should say, that's nasty and mean. We want to put that in a Word document, not put anybody's email address in there. We're not going to, impulsively press send. We're just going to put it in the folder. I have a folder of like letters, and there are things I want to say that are just like my petty, angry, triggered self. And I don't always feel after I've written it out that I need to say this to anyone else. And, if you're struggling with this, I tell my sponsees in my 12-step program for alcoholics, I tell them, write a letter to God or write a letter to Spirit. Just write, Dear Great Spirit, or Dear Universe, what the fuck? Why is this happening to me? I hate this. Like, I deserve better, blah, blah, blah. Every petty freaking thought. Like, even if it's like, don't you know who I am kind of thoughts, write it down. Because, the universe can handle it. Spirit can handle it. God can handle it. But, we don't have to carry the shame and burden of that shadow shit with us all the time. If you write it out in a letter, then you just give it to God. Now you've turned it over. I've sent the letter to God. And by sending the letter, I mean, maybe you got a box, or maybe you burn it, or maybe you put it somewhere where you can look at it in 6 months and say, God, I can't believe I ever even felt that way. And the end of the letter, after you've vented and put all your petty stuff and like all the anger stuff, and you cry and you let it out, just say, God, help me, take it. I don't want this anymore. Help me deal with this. Show me the path forward. And allow yourself to be given direction by the universe and from Spirit, And I use God as shorthand. I say this all the time, but, Spirit's fine, Great Spirit, God. In AA, we often say God is a good, orderly direction, meaning we ask somebody. God can also be the group of drunks. So we ask our fellow alcoholics for some advice, or just say like, I'm really struggling. What do I do? And we go to a meeting, So think about, what is that for you? If you don't have a recovery program, then what is your safe place? Who are your safe people? Who do you talk to? Who do you run things by? Who's your spiritual counselor? It might be a friend who ends up being your spiritual counselor. It could be your Reiki master. Could be your mom. Whoever it is. Could be your minister. But, just ask. So, okay, what else am I saying here? Okay, so the full moon this month, so I'm leaving Mercury retrograde. You know what to do. And actually, the crystals this month really, really are helpful for Mercury retrograde. They're the ones I usually suggest, so at least one of them, two of them are. So, you can kind of adjust, and I'll give you some Mercury retrograde crystals as well. But okay, the full moon's on September 10th. So this is our first lunation of the month. It's going to be September 10th. We're doing a full moon in Pisces. Yeah, this is an emotional moon. Full moons are hard to begin with. For some people, Pisces is like so happy, in when it's the full moon, because it's intuitive and psychic and emotional. So these are times where we have major moments of catharsis. We have lots of emotions. We get out our whoopee, your little blankie, cuddle up with your inner child and let it flow, baby. Just cry it out. This is what happens. Full moons in Pisces let us cry and emote and sigh and dance and create art with our, menstrual blood, the stuff that happens on the full moon in Pisces, and enjoy it. I love it. That's like my happy space. The sun in Virgo will kind of create a little bit of an opposition with the dreamy Pisces energy. So just remember that, it's, anyway. The sun will also form an opposition with Neptune, and Neptune's going to be in Pisces. So again, this is another way to like kind of get stuck in that romanticization of a relationship. Okay. So just remembering to like ground and think of like, am I on the right footing, or are we married and I don't even know the guy's name yet? So it's really a time to like look at expectations about your relationship and see if your dynamic is triggering you more than it's inspiring you or comforting you. You really want comforting and inspiring, not triggering, right? We sometimes get together with people who have the same, our wounds kind of fit together like a zipper, where we're just constantly triggering each other. So, just ask, is this a good thing for me, So Libra season arrives on September 22nd, and this is really going to be a time to try to squash any disagreements you have with people, find common ground. It's not a time to compromise your needs, but it can be a time for compassion and empathy and like seeing where somebody else is coming from. There's going to be a new moon on September 25th. That's going to be in Libra, of course, because the new moon and the sun are always in the same sign. And it's just a good time to like sort through the relationship. We're kind of looking at some relationship stuff here. I think it's really good to like kind of think of being in Libra, because Libra can be such a balancing sign to be in. So, this month feels so much lighter than August. And I think it's because, well, first of all, we are looking at lighter astrology, but our card for the month is a really super positive card of attraction and manifestation. And so I just think, when we think about the astrology and then we pull the card, it's so interesting kind of what lines up. And I think it's interesting this month in particular because we have the Nine of Cups. Now, August was the Eight of Cups. And, I do many, many readings between 1 month's reading and the next month. Last month I was in Vermont doing readings and, I was just pulling cards and, I've done a ton of readings since then. So to get 2 like consecutive cards feels like a 1 in a million chance. But the Nine of Cups is really a wonderful card for the 9th month of the year. And so that's interesting too. Did you guys notice that the 8th card is in the 8th month and the 9th card's in the 9th month? I love that, don't you? Because we have the 8 of Cups. The 8 of Cups is the moving on card. And the 9 of Cups is kind of this, if we look at the cups as a suit of a journey, you can see that, this is where that moving on, leaving everything comfortable has come to fruition and brought this person's wish to come true. So this card is often called the wish fulfillment card. And, I've had 1 or 2 people I know call it the wish fulfillment curse. Whatever it is, you can sure that everything you want is coming your way. So what do you want? That's the trick with this one. Because it's really a time to ask the universe for what you really are interested in and what you want, because it's on its way. It's like kind of calling Postmates for your dreams. But the rub here is, what is the thing? Okay? What do you want? Do you want a certain person? Do you want a certain car? Do you want a certain job? Do you want a certain sweater? Those things you can get, but like, is it really what you want? Or is that the ego demanding that you have some outward facade? Like, so instead of saying, I want, Jane Doe, the most beautiful, dynamic person at work who I hardly ever talk to and who doesn't give me the time of day. Well, what if you get Jane Doe, the cutest woman at work? What if she's, that's it? She's cute. What if she's mean as a snake and she drinks like a fish? So why don't we ask more for, I would like to be deeply and intimately connected with someone and be attracted to them, have both worlds, you know what I mean? So, instead of asking for a specific thing, maybe you have to think about like, what is the feeling I want? What's the sense of well-being? What triumph do I want? Because every triumph card has a little bit of challenge. And in this one, it's about aligning your wishes and intentions to be realistic. So kind of like Midas's wish of everything he touched to turn to gold. Like, how's he have a relationship? How's he have sex? How does he pee? It's a curse. So what we really want to do is look at the catch. With wishes, there's always a catch. There's always a side that our ego, our greed, and our wounding ignores. Often, like we hear that in folklore, right? The person, the trickster who's saying like, here, I'll grant your wish, can see that so clearly. They can see the catch that they're setting the person up for. So this card, believe it or not, is not universally agreed upon. Not everybody calls it the wish fulfillment card. And I know it's a shocker in the tarot community, but not a lot of tarot readers see this guy as getting all his wishes fulfilled. My friend Sharon, my bestie, she sees it as a genie. He's granting you your wish. Whereas other people see this guy as smug, self-satisfied, arrogant, someone primarily concerned with pleasure. He is a hedonist, someone who's drank all 9 of those cups. So he's a person concerned not just with pleasure, but with his pleasure. And ladies, we all know a dude like that, right? I'm sure there's many women who know other women like that and men who know women like that. But Marcia Messino calls this the wine woman in song card, which I love. And she really sees it as like an enjoyment of life's sensuality and finer aspects, a card that brings good health, good wealth, and enjoyment. So tarot isn't often what it seems. It's hard to take a beautiful card of happiness, contentment, and comfort at face value in the tarot. Why? Because there's more that meets the eye. We don't just have a snapshot feeling in our lives. Things lead up to it and things follow. So in this moment, we see all this happiness, this attainment. That's what numerology of 9 is all about, attainment. But it comes after the 8 of Cups. So after the 8 of Cups in August, we were leaving a comfortable situation for emotional balance. And we arrive at the 9. So part of what we see on the front of the 8 card is this imbalance of cups. We see 4 on the bottom, 5 on the bottom, 3 on the top. So it's like kind of looks like there's a missing cup there. And in the 9, we find it. And we get to have that balance. So I can hear you saying, Angie, but you said that 8 is leaving comfort. How does he suddenly have more? Because that's the idea, is that, in the 8, he is in a comfortable situation. He has enough to eat. He, is fine. But fine isn't good enough here. So he really wants to have something more. And that's why when we say he built his fortune again, in some ways, we're not looking at like somebody who has all this gold built up. We don't see the guy on the 4 of Pentacles, the miser, dressed all in red, but like seems miserable. We see a guy who's happy, he's wearing white or gray, meaning he has some wisdom. And yes, he has a hat on that's red, meaning he's got his wealth up in his head. He's got that wisdom. So, I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to this card. What is in the cups, we don't know. But we do know that in the 7, we had all these cups to choose from. So now he picks one. And when he picks one, he leaves, He chooses to move on in the 8. And in the 9, all of his cups are filled. All of them are filled. So, I think the important part is not, what is your manifestation work? What is your intention? What do you want to call in? It's about having your priorities aligned and knowing what you're actually wanting, right? It's the thing behind the thing. And it's the same thing when I talk about your wounding. What's your thing behind your thing? It's not that somebody said that to you, but what did it trigger in you? That's the important part. It's the same with what we wish for, right? And I think it is dangerous to kind of get into manifestation work. And, kind of think that you're the all-powerful Oz that can make things happen. Because so much of it is magical thinking and feeling powerful. I heard this great guy on TikTok saying, I get worried about manifestation and magical thinking work because when somebody gets their way and things go their way because they've manifested it, they kind of dehumanize other people by saying, like, all you have to do is wish for it. All you have to do is do all this manifestation work. Like, I did it, you can do it. And the universe doesn't always work that way. It isn't justice-based. But if you're thinking that somehow you're creating your own reality, then that means everybody else is pawns in your universe. Then the ego is front and center. And he said, he was talking about it with kind of like this spirituality aspect, like the new age to right wing pipeline, this idea that like, there's I don't know if you guys have really paid a lot of attention to that, but our community is pretty divided right now. We have a lot of people that are flirting with QAnon stuff and conspiracy theories that are keeping them from doing their work. And that's the idea with this. It's a slippery slope into terminal uniqueness. We call it terminal uniqueness in AA. What that means is me thinking I'm different from everyone else is going to kill me, And so thinking you're special, that you can control things. And then the opposite end is if you're not manifesting what you want, or what you think you want, then you think you're not good enough, that something's happening, that you're cursed, that somebody's, throwing malocchio at you or something. Both of these roads are dark and dangerous. And the 9 is, it can be a shadow dance with this card. But I do promise you, this is a positive card. We see it as a wish fulfilled, something coming to fruition. The search for emotional balance, maybe love, maybe connection, or birthing something new. Remember, 9 months is when a baby is born. So this could also be something that you're bringing forward, that you've been working really hard on, something emotional close to you. So the truth is, you got this, your money kid, you got it. You got this, babe. This is my positive affirmations in the morning is from a boyfriend I had many years ago. And it was not a long-lived relationship, but it was very powerful to me. And every morning when I got up and was getting ready for work, he said, you got this, kid. You got it. Your money. You can do it. I can see you. You're taking the ball all the way down the court. He was a basketball player. You're taking the ball all the way down the court. You got this, kid. And I say that to myself every morning because he said it, and it helped me so much to focus. And so this is you got your money, kid. You got it. So let's look at the earth medicine of the month, because I just went on for a half hour on the astrology and tarot. So I'm so sorry. This is going to be a long one. Plant medicine this month. The beautiful and stately sunflower came to show herself as a guide. She is amazing. And we have so many by my house right now. They just exude confidence, solar energy. They rise above the drama to face the light and honor the sun. Sunflowers are not only a really beautiful part of this late summer in the northern hemisphere, they've also been a food staple and a foundation of many civilizations. And they have sustained millions of our ancestors for thousands of years. Based on some archaeological evidence, sunflowers seem to be a staple food for people who lived in what's now New Mexico around 4,600 years ago. When sunflower was first born, many of the Anasazi used, we can see the use of sunflower as center to their culture. And same with the Zuni, and there's Russian tribes that we see that in. So corn, squash, beans was center for many First Nations people, but in the Southwest, we're looking at sunflowers being center for some. And sunflower medicine can be like St. John's wort medicine, that it kind of brings in beauty, purifies light, helps with depression and sadness. Remember, the sunflower has a heavy head, so it does like kind of work with the head and the crown and all that stuff. So let me see the organs that it helps kidneys, adrenals, the brain, the heart, the lungs, and this like just by eating sunflowers, ingesting sunflowers, drinking sunflower tea, all like you can do the pre-flowering or the flowering heads. You can harvest them to dry for tea right at this point in the year or in midsummer when it's when you've got all these sunflowers. They die really fast if you don't like harvest them and thin them. So you can do that. It also has deep roots, so it's really good for grounding. Of course, all those tall plants do, right? They have deep roots so that they can grow strong and tall. So we can use it also on our skin. It's really great for pulling toxins out. It's good for a healing salve. And there's some great things online you can find, but I found this one practice where you basically use the whole head to make an oil, and you can use it for skin ailments, stiffness, for arthritis. I haven't done it, but it sounds really easy to do, and maybe I will post this and the website I got it from in the show notes so that you can read this. Okay, I'm just going to highlight that so I don't forget it. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 crystals for this month. The first crystal that came through is hematite. Now, hematite is a root chakra and earth star chakra stone. It has a hardness of like 5 to 6. It is kind of like the preeminent stone for EMF protection, grounding, protection, blood work. It's good for manifestation. So, if you are doing that, it helps. If you are going to use this 9 and say, like, I want to call in what I need right now, hematite's a great ally for that work. It's good. It's like a go-to for me for grounding. I use it in the auric fields. Like I put it around people at certain points. And if you've taken my crystal classes, you know in my advanced body layout class, I talk about doing this auric infusion layout with hematite. And I do it like nearly every session for people because it works so well to help them carry the session out with them. It's good to strengthen their auric field, to help them keep out like other people's energies. It's kind of an empath must have. And when I'm going out into a crowd, I've got a hematite in one pocket and a black tourmaline in the other pocket because that's just like what I need to protect. So I could go on and on about hematite. Hematite does not come magnetic. That is a man-made stone if you buy magnetic hematite. They look so pretty on your fridge. I have a bunch on my fridge. I use them, but they're not real hematite, okay? Hematite is actually streaks red. It is really earthy. I actually, my mentor, Hibiscus Moon, says like the earth's core is made out of iron oxide. It is hematite. So, it's very earthy, but when it's polished, it looks silver. Okay. And, it is one of the most abundant minerals. It's, on the earth's surface. It's in the shallow crust. It is basically like the color of rust because it basically is rust. So one of the things about hematite is you don't want to really get it wet because it will actually rust. And so it does look metallic, but I don't think it's considered a metal per se. It's considered a crystal. So I'm seeing if I need to say anything else in my notes because I could go on and on about hematite. So it is also used as a pigment. There's another one. It's used as a pigment, and believe it or not, it becomes blood red. That's kind of why it got its name, because hematite is named for the Greek word hematitis. Hopefully I said that right, which basically means blood red. So awesome, right? Okay, let's go back to my notes, my noties. Our next crystal is one of my faves. I mean, everybody loves turquoise. And it's been used for thousands of years for different purposes. It's used in ancient Africa, ancient Asia, South and North America. It's probably used most often for protection. It was worn by nobility in ancient Egypt, and it's probably most famously known as the one of the stones on the burial mask of Tutankhamun, so King Tut. It was considered sacred to the Navajo, and it's a stone that's known to be the bringer of rain, which I really love. It's been known to be a traveler's companion, so it's used when you're traveling as protection. It is really great for throat chakra work. I use it on the throat chakra for my clients, especially in layouts where I use other copper-based stones, because turquoise is copper-based. It's opaque. It's a phosphate mineral, but it's copper-based. It's got a Mohs hardness of 5 to 6. It's great for psychic work. It's great for articulating our truth and communicating. So turquoise is one of those stones that is very difficult to get right now. Most of the mines are depleted. So authentic turquoise becomes rarer and rarer and more expensive. Okay. So it comes in a variety of blues and greens, but it doesn't come in white. It doesn't come in purple. It doesn't come in all the colors that you probably see it elsewhere. It's mostly blue-green. Now, the lighter form, the robin's egg blue, is the color that's probably most often faked. It's also the most sought after and the most valuable. So think of like the green as being the rust, okay? So the more green it has in it, the less valuable it is. And there's tons of fakes on the market. You really want to look for like dyed. Usually it's like magnetite or halite, but even halite's getting rarer and rarer because it was used so long as a fake turquoise that it's even hard to find halite, both white and dyed. So it's more often now either reconstituted, meaning they will kind of use a little bit of turquoise in like a resin and then whip it together and then pour it in. And you know, the resins are usually like either plastics or synthetic fillers or some kind of adhesive that's put into a mold that looks like turquoise. And so you can tell the difference between those by just getting a hot pin or something and seeing if it melts. It'll be really stinky if it's hot. Real turquoise is expensive. So if you're finding a cheap piece, it's probably not real. The way to really tell if something is fake, but just asking, where is this mined from? Because most people who know where their turquoise is from and which mine it is, and each mine, it's important because each mine produces a different kind of turquoise. So you can identify turquoise by how it looks. Like you can say, oh, that is from Sleeping Beauty mine. You know, we can tell which mines that turquoise is from. And, you know, chrysocolla and turquoise are both copper-based. They sometimes look very similar, same with shattuckite. So basically, and this is something that my mentor, Hibiscus Moon, says, like, if you're eyeing a turquoise, no mine name attached to it, the seller has no idea what mine it could be from, this is an indication that it might not be the real deal. And if you can't tell whether your specimen is chrysocolla or turquoise, lick it. Turquoise is harder and not as bony, chalky, sticky to the tongue. And Hibiscus Moon says, I tried it and it works. So that's good to know, right? Our next stone for the month is Tiger Eye, which fits perfectly with this time of year. It has that same kind of feeling and color as the sunflower. It's got a harder Mohs hardness. It's a 7. It really works with the solar plexus and the sacral. And, we're working with it for bolstering confidence and courage. It really supports physical health and energy, helps you trust the gut. That's a good tiger eye kind of thing. It has that chatoyance that is so sweet with crystals. There's also blue tiger eye, and petersite's a really great stone to kind of combine that blue tiger eye, and the petersite is kind of that tiger eye color. It's not tiger eye. But tiger eye I'm talking about is the yellow tiger eye. So yeah, tiger eye helps to bridge the practical root concerns of the root chakra with the solar plexus, will, and determination. So it really, you get shit done with tiger eye. It's a practical stone. It invites in practicality. It invites in discernment because it invites in your gut feeling. So that's where discernment lives. So those are our 3 stones, and let's talk about our animal medicine. I was so excited for this because all summer I've been feeling like hummingbird was going to come. And then like all of a sudden, all these hummingbirds started showing themselves to me, not only in my backyard, which I have a ton of hummingbirds back here, but I went to a thrift shop and found a wooden hummingbird, and I just see hummingbirds all over. So let's talk a little bit about hummingbird medicine. So there's over 300 species of hummingbird, and they're really only found in the Americas. So though she be tiny, the hummingbird has a lot of medicine to give us. Hummingbird has an incredible memory. She remembers every flower she visits and the intricate routes to return to them. She also knows just how long to wait for a flower to generate more nectar so she can return to it to feed. They also recognize humans, and they know who refills their bird feeders and who doesn't, which is, a harsh wake-up call for many of us. So this is like essential to their survival as they're constantly flying and trying to feed themselves for their incredibly fast metabolism. So they need to eat every 10 minutes just to keep their wings from, going. They have a constant humming wing, right? And that makes their wisdom to come through as one of constant motion and quickness. Hummingbird brings joyous energy to the environment. They bear light. They have iridescent wings and energy. They travel more than 2,000 miles in a single migration. So they beat their wings up to 5,400 times per minute to travel at speeds of 33 miles an hour. But they just don't fly in one direction. They're extremely adaptable. They can hover, they can fly upward, downward, backward, forward, making them really beautiful allies for those who are wanting to tap into that multidimensional universe and who need adaptability in their life and flexibility. So hummingbird's seen as medicine of the present, of being present, of joy, of playfulness, of happiness, of action, of endurance. They are the bringers of light and the bringers of the sacred. Now, hummingbirds native to the Americas, so you're going to find these legends of hummingbird through South America and up into Central and Mexico. So the hummingbird was sacred to Aztec, Maya, Inca. The Mayan legends explain that the reason hummingbird's so tiny is because it was made out of the scraps of feathers left over from other flying allies. In both the Mayan and Incan traditions, the hummingbird is a representative of the north, and so it had the ability to guide us to our ancestors. Hummingbird is known to accompany shaman to each of the 3 worlds, so it isn't specific for the lower world, the middle world, or the upper world. In the lower world, during the journeying process, though, hummingbird is seen as a guide for souls to the afterlife. So hummingbird is the retriever of lost souls because it can fly quickly into small spaces and bring back souls undetected. So in many traditions, hummingbird carried the prayers to God, and whispering on the wind, the requests and gratitude of the shaman and teachings of the people would carry it to Great Spirit. So in the Peruvian shamanic traditions, the hummingbird is known as Siwar Kenti in the Quechuan language, and that's the language of the Incans. Hummingbird is one of their most important archetypal creatures. Don Oscar Miro Quesada says this. I found this on the Shaman's Market website, hummingbird medicine takes our nectar and cross-pollinates us with the universe so that we're always connected to the great web of life. When we call forth the energies of royal hummingbird, we open to a profound relationship that gives us the ability to weave the beauty, peace, and lightness of the heavenly realm into our everyday for a greater sense of love, gentleness, and service in our lives. So this tiny bird really packs a lot of punch, and she's full of life and bravery. So, we are going to work with hummingbird. First of all, we're going to work with hummingbird to look at our energy field and what brings us vitality, what's draining us, and how to get the sweetness into our life. We're also going to work with hummingbird to see what flower and plant medicine would be really good for our healing and our work right now. So if you're interested in plant medicine, this is going to be an interesting journey because we're going to work with plant medicine. And we're also going to relearn how to honor our body and to re-embody our body. And this can be really important if you're after a trauma or after an illness or after a deep loss, because she's a symbol of healing and abundance. So this is the medicine of the month. I'm so excited to bring it to you. Thank you so much for listening to Centered and to this Earth Medicine and Tarot reading for the month of September. I just wanted to share with you that if you ever want to go deeper with this work, I have a membership group and it has a number of tiers. The first tier is just our Facebook group, and every tier includes Facebook group membership. In that group, which is small still and we're still building it, I pull cards every day, talk about tarot. I share things about the medicine that we're working with. Hopefully it's a place that we're going to grow and be more of a portal for learning. I'm going to start doing live tarot polls and talking to you and answering questions about crystals, animal medicine, shamanic practices, and anything else you want me to talk about. Healing work, I assume. So that's there, and it starts at a price of $11 a month. So if you are interested in having a community of people who work with me and who study with me, that's a great place to start. And then I have other tiers where I include readings that I do on the moon cycles. And that can be a really great way to just get in tune with the moon and with cycles in your life. And I always talk about astrology and, of course, energy work and stuff like that. But I have a really grounded approach. So hopefully it's not too woo-woo. Too woo-woo. Okay. And also on my website, which is angieyingst.com, you can find all kinds of things in my shop, and that's going to be growing. So I have all of my shamanic journeys that I've done over the past couple years are listed there individually. So if you had 1 month that you just were like, I really wish I could do that journey with Possum, you can go in there and find it. And it's just a quick download. It is not that expensive, and it's a great way to start exploring animal medicine. I have some that I still need to get up. I think most of 2021 I have to get up, but I'm working on that slowly but surely. I'm also teaching tarot in person in Harrisburg and online in early 2023. And I made an offer to my newsletter followers, you can do the self-study of the tarot class and then join us live when we get it, when I start it in 2023. I just don't know the date yet because I'm still working on all of that stuff. And I'm a one lady show. So I just hope you enjoy this and talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Centered with me, Angie Yingst. If you'd like to send me a question or comment about this show or any shows, you can send them to Angie@themoonandstone.com.